History of the Future Series Book 1, Meeting with Happy Smile. Chapter 2, How It All Started. Beginning of 2023, I was having a solo travel through Asia. After having my time in India, I chose to turn my destination towards Thailand. A few days after my arrival, I started to understand all I wanted was to relax. Being on a tropical island, letting go of myself in the beautiful crystal waters while holding a fresh coconut sounded like an amazing idea. I got myself a ticket to a night train and found myself on the north side of an island called Koh Phangan. It felt truly like heaven on earth. Very calm, silent, a super clean beach with very kind local and foreign people around. After a few days of my arrival to the island, I started having a deep internal conversation with myself about what I truly wanted from my life. I very much wanted to find myself and the version of me that I wanted to become in this reality, a version who is sure of herself, happy, unbothered with whatever comes her way, shining with a warm smile coming from inside. I had carried this feeling for years, that I am here for the betterment of myself, and I deeply wanted to find my true ways to it, and share the way to it with people who wanted the same. I knew that my beliefs and perspectives on life were creating my experiences in life, and I was sharing my own way of looking at life with people around me. Still, I was not 100% sure about my own goal and purpose in this life. After a while, I found a moment of serenity and looked at the sky. As in a way of talking with God, I said, in my past relationships, I found myself in such dynamics that it wasn't exactly how I wanted to be. For my future, I want a person who I can grow with, who I can learn from, and start understanding myself and this life better together, who sincerely wants to go into my deeper waters. It is time. I want to experience true love and true partnership and evolve with that person every day. I even mentioned that I am ready for a person more aged who has way more experience in this life than me. The next day, fueled by my aspirations for a different future expressed towards the sky, I decided to explore the other side of the island. I had heard about the variety of events there and a more active lifestyle going on. My goal was to find affordable or even free, friendly accommodation. Through couch surfing, I connected with an incredible Italian friend who generously opened his house to me without any expectations. Thank you, Antonio. After finding a place to stay, I shared the location with a Thai lady who wanted to support me in getting a taxi. When I checked Google Maps, there weren't many pinned places around the location I wanted to go. Only one place in the same street called Happy House. She checked the map and glanced around the house. With a thoughtful, she said, Happy House, a few times. She called the driver and started a rapid conversation about the place in Thai language. Between the not understandable Thai words, all I managed to pick up was her repeated mention of Happy House. Going back to that day, I find myself smiling, realizing how many times she implanted those words into my mind. Life itself seemed to be coding my mind, programming me to become familiar with it. The day I reached Antonio's place, I felt his calm energy. He was very kind and cared deeply about my comfort, even offering me his own bed to sleep in. He shared with me insights about the happenings on the island and recommended events for me to check out. When I expressed my love for dancing, he generously offered me his scooter for the next day, allowing me to attend a dance event happening in the daytime. The next day, I used the opportunity and went to an ecstatic dance event and danced all evening freely. After the event, I was feeling full of vibrating energy, enjoying that I had done what I wanted to do for a long time. With this growing vibration inside me, I decided to go around and discover the island. I found an amazing spot to swim and watch a beautiful view of the sun setting into the blue waters with lots of gorgeous colors. Having a full day with events, mostly by myself, got me thinking that I was ready to make new friends on this island. Even a lover, perhaps. I hopped on the motorbike and started driving around the island while the warm breeze swept against me. I started looking for a restaurant to eat dinner. As I passed by a place named Gummy Bears, I felt a very strong, magnet-like pull calling my energy. The feeling was incredibly strong, almost unbelievable. Even though I was still riding my bike forward, I kept looking back toward the place, fascinated and confused by what was happening inside of me. Even with my entire focus on what was happening at Gummy Bears, I parked my bike a bit further away and checked the restaurant next door. Fortunately, the neighbor's restaurant was full, and inside, I had a dialogue going on with myself. Finally, I found the bravery to say, "What the heck? Go and find out what's happening there." I left my motorbike and started walking toward the entrance of Gummy Bears. The name alone had a whimsical charm to it. As I entered the restaurant, I felt the cozy ambiance. What truly caught my attention was this interesting-looking guy sitting inside. His age, I couldn't even guess. He had bright yellow, very eye-catching sunglasses, with striking neon yellow hair, and a rather funny tattoo popping through his neck. In front of him was a plate of delicious-looking Thai food. In a rather sophisticated manner, I asked,
"Is the food any good here?"
with an accent like Hermione Granger's, even though I had never been to Britain in my life. "Yes," he said with a thick Russian accent. His voice seemed to resonate from deep within his stomach. "Where are you going? Come sit," he invited, pointing to the chair in front of him. Happily, I moved to the empty chair in front of this enigmatic stranger. He introduced himself, saying, "My name is Happy Smile," while smiling deeply into my eyes, almost as if waiting to catch my reaction. It struck me as unusual to hear a grown man introduce himself with a name that sounded like a character from a children's book. It felt a little cheesy at that moment, as I was more into things that sounded cool. I introduced myself. He continued gazing into my eyes as if he had never seen another person before. I smiled, with warm feelings rising inside me. A few minutes later, another man arrived, blonde, with the same neon-colored beard and bright yellow sunglasses, and joined us at the table. He introduced himself with a Russian accent as Kirill. Observing the two of them together, both with their matching glasses and vibrant neon hair and beard, felt like a scene from a movie. I asked if they were both from Russia. Happy Smile explained that he was actually born in Uzbekistan. "Oh, I guess Uzbek people have a similar culture to ours. I am from Turkey," I shared. Kirill was doing most of the talking. He began telling me about Happy Smile, not just as the name of his friend, but as a growing brand that they were both passionate about. He spoke about their vision to change the whole world with a message of love and happiness, backed by a profound business and marketing strategy. It was fascinating to see how much they believed in what they were doing. Happy Smile, right choice. I thought about it and smiled. I didn't think too much in that moment. There was nothing contradictory about happy smiling in my mind. I've always loved to smile, and I deeply believe that looking at life with a more positive perspective makes every experience lighter and more pleasant. I was very hungry while waiting for my food. Happy read my situation and shared his plate with me, saying gently, "It is my second plate. You start to eat, please," while looking at me with the kindest smile. After a while, Happy told Kirill that he couldn't believe such a beautiful girl had come to sit at their table. They both looked at me with fascination. I couldn't help but think that maybe I was different from the women they had encountered in their country. I felt flattered and a little shy. It's hard to tell if it was 10 minutes after we met or 30. Suddenly, he told me that he doesn't use any money. He chooses not to connect with it. He said he is not interested in following money in his life anymore. In that moment, I didn't and couldn't share much attention with it. Couldn't even find myself to ask. How could a person live a life without interacting with any money? Why would he choose such a way? The only thought I had was that this island is full of surprises and unique individuals in many ways. His finances weren't my interest at all. I wasn't there to expect anything from him. Mostly all I said was, "Wow, I'm happy that you can keep it up for yourself." I assumed his friend was taking care of him or something along those lines. His face took on an extra edgy look with his square sunglasses frame. His yellow lenses were concealing his deep brown eyes like a filter. It felt like he was looking into my soul through that lens, as if he was able to read details about my past and future. Gently, I asked him to take off his glasses. I wanted to grasp his eyes and face fully. When he did, I saw a gentle human looking at me with deep love and kind eyes. I realized my brain couldn't quite comprehend him as a human until that moment. Just a second ago, he seemed like a different being. He wasn't sharing many words. Still, I was feeling his energy very present. After a while, he reached his hands towards the table and said, "Give me your arm." I was intrigued and ready to stretch my whole arm towards him. Later, I found out that his English was quite limited, and he had wanted to ask for my hand. When I stretched my whole arm towards him, he had the chance to see my tattoo, with a message saying, "See behind roles," and he chose to see behind all of them. He held my hand, and I felt his beautiful, gentle energy perfectly matching with mine. I felt comfortable the second I touched his skin. We stayed holding hands for a while in silence. I had a lot of spiritual mojo jojo moving inside my mind in those moments. I had recently received my Reiki certificates, and I was actively practicing sharing energy through the symbols for protection, love, and connection, for myself and for anyone whom I wish to share these energies with. Deep down, since the moment I sat down, I had been sharing Reiki energy with this new person I had just met. I felt a bit perplexed by his high energy and had an overwhelming desire to return the visit with good vibes and love vibrations. After a while, he looked up at me and said, "Wow, amazing energy. I feel you. You want to create a beautiful future." Not too many words, still very intriguing. His vibe felt relaxed and grounded. All the words coming out of his mouth sounded sure, even with his limited English. After my pause, his friend became serious and shared with me that Happy has the ability to see the future. He is floating into his future and coming back to today's reality when he wants, his friend said. And he was talking about it so casually, as if it were a skill every 1 out of 10 people possessed on this planet. I was surprised and not sure how to react to this information. Towards the end of the night, I was swept away by the energy flowing between us, realizing that my interest was growing towards this enigmatic stranger. From the moment we met, Happy and his friend shared a few perspectives on life that I now refer to as codes, such as not focusing on the past to create next-level, brand-new experiences different from what has already been lived, and speaking from the perspective of wants instead of speaking from needs or don't wants. Simply, they were pointing out that by changing a few words that almost everyone uses daily, they were changing the codes they use to program their minds. They were sure that by using words with respect and understanding, they were changing their perception and eventually their lives. This was intriguing for me. I wanted to understand more. It is possible by deleting the parasite words from our talks, Happy said. Words such as need, must, should, have to, and any expression that points to necessity, obligation, or a mindset that drifts people away from being sure. Not harboring any needs, and living in a state of trust and abundance sounded very radical to me in that moment. He was very focused on the words he was using and believed that words were programming his life. Whatever codes he chose, he wanted to be sure they were clean codes and that he meant them 100%. He held a strong belief that his needs were already met and always would be. By being very serious about this topic and using his words with such intentionality, he was strengthening his own self-belief. He spoke with confidence about the fact that words create our future. For him, refusing to use those words was the most effective way to stop creating needs, musts, or have-tos in his future. Preferring to speak in terms of wants instead was creating an entirely different mindset. Side note. In the written book, I created an experiment. I replaced the word need with the code 2334. You will see it written that way in the pages of the book. For the audiobook, I will keep using the word need for the sake of understanding. Still, I want you to remember that in my writing, this word has already been deleted and replaced. It is my way of reminding myself and others that I do not need anymore. I can want, I can choose, and by following this practice with sureness, I feel myself opening beautiful doors to create exactly how I want my life to be. This is the experiment I am inviting you into, whether you are reading or listening. A clean-coded life where every step is created with wanting. I understand this language is new for many people, and it has never yet been practiced in a big and united community. I am here for that never been done before exceptional life creation to become visible for all interested eyes. One straightforward question I have for you, dear reader, is: do you want to experiment with clean coding and create a new reality exactly as you want for yourself? I believe it is time to use the information we already carry as humans, to grow more aware of our own coding, and to use words with their true meaning and sureness in unity. Every person I have ever shared attention with knows that words are powerful. Yet even after conversations about this topic, and sharing their want to delete have-tos or needs from their language, I often witness them using these words on autopilot. Even when they simply want to share that they like a dessert in a cafe and want a friend to taste it, autopilot mind takes over and they end up coding it as a necessity, telling their friend that they need to try that dessert. I believe this life is exactly like a video game. Choosing to want every step and coding it with the feeling of wanting has truly changed the game for me. This practice supports me every day in following my true wants, instead of what I or others think I should, must, or need in my life. And the more I believe in it, the more I feel the support of time, gently deleting those needy situations from my reality. Thank you for sharing your attention with this inner conversation. I appreciate it. Now we return to the story. In those times, I wasn't as familiar with these subjects as I am today. And Happy's beginner-level English was making it a bit more mysterious for me to solve his perspective on life. As a yoga teacher and a self-improvement seeker, I was deeply interested in the topic of reprogramming my mind and using my words wisely for it. I was sharing my perspective on the topic with him, though I wasn't sure how much of my words he was truly understanding. He mentioned that until that day, I was the first non-Russian speaker he had ever had a proper conversation with. Still, I felt our connection and his presence on another level from the very beginning. After an attempt to share a past trauma of mine, to point out how my approach has changed since then, and how much I have grown after the pain I encountered in my life. Within my first words, I noticed Kirill's look on me, his eyebrows raised. I understood what I was doing and stopped myself. What was the point of going back to the past and using their attention to highlight a version of me I had already evolved from? That moment was already gone. In that second, I understood the game they were playing more deeply. I decided I truly want to let us all be new and free from our pasts, to live a fresh life without assumptions or the limitations of yesterday. It took me a long time to get used to this way of living, so I decided not to talk about my past, which university I finished, how young I was, or what age Happy Smile was, even though I was very curious about that part. After our food was finished, I was feeling elevated and content, as if I had stepped into a slightly different, happier realm. I had heard that this island was built on rose quartz rocks, known as love stones. Island magic, I thought. Then the man without money asked me if I wanted to go to their villa. Oh, I said. A villa? Yeah. Happy house? He replied with a big smile on his face. Kirill started sharing proudly how he had made a pin for their place on Google Maps. It turned out to be the same house, on the same street where I was staying, as you might guess. Since it was right next door, I agreed easily to go and visit their villa. On the way, they shared the story of it. They had stumbled upon this abandoned villa, or lost villa as they called it, while exploring the island. It had a pool and furniture inside. The owner hadn't been in Thailand for the last 3 years. By chance, they managed to contact him through his lawyer. And they found a way to stay and even host parties there. Kirill's eyes were shining as he shared his perspective about Happy. Happy hacked this life, somehow, and he always finds his way to land on his feet in any scenario. We arrived at the villa. There were a few cozy yellow puffs on the terrace, which Happy was very fond of. Palm trees in front, and the pool behind us. It was such a beautiful place to relax. We lay down under the sky full of stars, touched hands, and listened to a music set that he mentioned he had recorded. I do DJing, he said, his eyes shining with love as he spoke about his music. The amount of love a person could pour into mixing music was something I couldn't fully grasp at the time. I love all the music. All music is made by love on this planet. There is no other way, he said. He was very passionate about it. Piece by piece, I allowed myself to immerse in his music and into his arms. A few days later, he confessed something that stayed with me. He told me that he had once made a promise to himself, never to make the first move on any woman until the words, "I want you," left her lips. With you, he told me softly, there weren't any questions. You showed me you wanted me. I felt that you were sure about it. I let his words sink in, realizing how rare such clarity could be. Then I thought to myself how unusual that was. For many, waiting for a woman to step forward, to voice her desire so openly, might be tricky. Yet for him, it was a code of life he had chosen. He went on, almost with a smile at the strangeness of his past beliefs. Oh, I used to believe a woman could never be interested in a man who had no money. He shared with me how, in his past life, he had paid for everything, without exception, how he had even urged his friends to do the same, carrying the belief of society that love was inseparable from the weight of a wallet. In that reality, love was directly correlated with having and spending money to earn the attention a man desired. Then his eyes met mine, and his voice softened. You are the first woman who doesn't care if I have money or not. For me, it wasn't such a big deal, yet I could imagine the shift it created for him, in the way he saw me, and in how his perspective around women began to change.
Thanks for listening. You can find the full ebook on the links from Amazon and oceansmile.gumroad.com. We will appreciate your support, the writer and her creations.